What's up everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's video we're gonna take a look at one of your artwork from the Discord server and try to transform into a better painting. This video will be very useful for someone who's trying to improve on their artwork. There will be a lot of useful information throughout the video, so make sure you watch the whole thing. So without wasting any more time, let's do this. So here we have the painting. It's made by Dr. Pepper from our Discord. As you can see, there is a character in the foreground and a distant city or maybe a distant village which is being burnt down by this dragon in the air. So it's a pretty cool scene, it's a pretty moody scene. There are a few adjustments that could be made which will help this artwork go to the next level. So first I'll try to point out all of those things in the artwork and then later on paint over the artwork to make it look better. First of all, I can't help but notice that this rock shape here is quite parallel to this bow from the foreground character. So the edge could be slightly away from this bow. The next thing that I noticed is that this part of the sky is pretty much blown out. It looks like it's overexposed, like the white areas, the highlighted areas are overexposed, and because of that reason we cannot see the detail in this part. So it's always good to not use proper whites or proper blacks in your artwork. Another thing that I'm noticing is that there is not enough variation in the shapes of this city. So there could be a lot of variation, some tall buildings, some very little buildings here. So there could be a lot of shape variation, but right now it looks a little bit flat because most of the buildings are of the same size. The dragon is pretty cool, but the fire that the dragon is blowing is towards the sky. It would be really awesome if the dragon could breathe fire onto the city so that it could enhance the overall narrative in this piece. I think this is a path leading to the city, but the perspective looks a little off on this one. It would be a lot better if this path would become wider as it comes into the foreground so that we can have some sort of a perspective. I also noticed that the character is too much on the left. We could maybe place the character on the 1/3 of this artwork. That would really improve it. So these were some of the things that I instantly noticed about this artwork. And now let's try to paint over the artwork and try to make it look a lot better. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is to remove the overexposed areas from the sky. It's also competing too much with the fire, because the fire could have, you know, very bright areas on the core, but bright sky is dulling the effect of the fire. Now I am going to select the character and try to move it to the right. Something like that. And I'll paint the background. And now we have the character on the right spot, and we have fixed the overexposed sky. Next we're going to fix the path right here. So let's give it some perspective. I'm also noticing that the path is a bit too blue, so maybe we can tone it down a little bit. Let's try to decrease the saturation. By bringing the path to the foreground, it has also created some sort of a separation between the character and the background, which is really good. Alright, now we can have some variation on the buildings. So I'll try to make some shapes a little bigger than the others. Since this is just a paint over, I could use a mixer brush to create some interesting shapes here instead of drawing the buildings. It should give a good idea of the different sizes that we need to incorporate here. We could also push some of the buildings farther in the distance. And the trick for that is pretty simple. You could just take a soft round brush and select the area that you want to push into the distance. Select the color around that part, lower the opacity down to about 20-30%, and just lightly paint over the areas. So now it's kind of giving us an illusion of some buildings being in the distance and some at the front. So it doesn't look too flat. Let's try to add some more buildings into the distance. So I'm also noticing that the city overall doesn't look too much into the distance. So we're going to use the same technique using this round brush and push the city further into the distance. So when the things are at a distance, you can notice it by looking at the shadows. So the shadows here are too dark, but as we go into the distance, the shadows are not that dark. So to push things into the distance, we usually need to make the shadows of those objects less black. So for that purpose, I just painted over this part with a soft round brush, and now look at the darks. They're not quite as black as before. Let's see from a distance. Now, if we look at the artwork from this distance, you could already see that the city or this village looks at a distance as compared to this. So this is a really easy fix. All right, now we could also improve on some of the shapes from the rocks. Okay, now it's time to work a little bit more on the foreground character. So I think the overall colors on this foreground character is a bit too purple. So we can make it slightly more towards the blue, and for that we're going to use a hue slider, and I'm now fixing the hues. Now take a look at this. This one looks much more blended into the scene, which is quite nice. So now as we can see that we have moved this character from this edge to now a little bit more towards the right. So some of the edges are cut here, and we are about to fix that. Let's make the cape flow a little bit towards the left. And I'm going to just paint a solid color on the cape first, and then work towards the highlights. So now let's fix the dragon. So the dragon is breathing fire into the sky, and we are going to change that. I'll just paint over this fire and paint the dragon's head looking down like this. I would have done a much better job if I was using reference for painting the dragon's head, but this would do for now. Alright, so now we need to paint the fire. And the fire here looks good, but it needs to have very warm and brightly lit parts, especially on the core here. So let's make this orange fire hit the ground here and add some sort of a yellow in between. And in the core, we are going to introduce a much brighter yellow. So I'm now painting the orange part. So now that you can see there is a lot of fire in this artwork, the fire would obviously have some sort of an impact on the overall lighting and color of this scene. So I'm just going to take the orange from this fire, put it to overlay, and paint the surrounding. This will impact the overall color of this scene. So once we have the overlay here, we can go to color dodge and we can add highlights on the buildings that are affected from the fire. I'm doing it as a quick fix for now, but you can also add a lot more detail into this. You can also go in there and add some manual details on a normal blending mode and add some more detail like this. So now we have a much more impactful lighting here. The fire would also have some effect over here, so we can also add some overlay. Doing this will connect this terrain from this village. Otherwise, it looks like the village scene is really separated from the rocks below. So here we have a much orange color theme going on, and just below this line, we have everything in blue. So to make it a much more seamless transition, we could add, some oranges here and there. Now we can use some smoke brushes to add smoke rising from the city. So the smoke that is close to the fire will probably catch some orange as well. Alright, so now it's looking good, and there seems to be one thing missing. The sky looks a bit too bland, so I'm going to add some light areas on the sky. Actually, I already did that, found out later that it was not recorded, so I'll just add this layer. Basically, I just used a cloud brush to add some clouds like this on the sky, because the original artwork showed some light areas on the sky, so I thought I'd kind of bring it back. So here we have the sky, which is not looking too bad actually. Now as you can see, I never used white in the highlighted areas on the sky, so it doesn't look quite blown out as compared to this. I also think that we really need to add some more bright areas to the fire as well. We can also make the sky slightly darker at the top, so I'm just going to select this blue color here, set it on multiply, lower the opacity down to about 30%, and paint the top of the sky. In the original one, we can see that this left part has some kind of rock, so we're gonna add that as well. Okay, now let's go in there and add a little bit more detail on these parts. I'll be using mixer brush to add some more detail to these parts. And this is kind of an experiment because I don't quite know what would work and what won't work. So I'm just going to have to experiment with these brushes and see if we could add some more detail here and there. I really hope that you liked this video and found something useful to help you improve your art. If you did, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and comment down below and let me know what you would like me to work on next. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.